Welcome to Rewired Wellness, guys. For those of you who know me, you guys, not even personally, you guys just know like my brand, the way I carry myself, the way she's always talking about, oh my gosh, she's always like pinpointing that I'm always drinking this and it's bad for me, and I should not be eating this because it's bad for me. And she's always talking about how she's always at the gym, how she loves walking around everywhere. Those of you who know me from Chicago know I am the queen of walking everywhere. I never get tired. If you tell me to walk from my house all the way to downtown Chicago, I will do it in a heartbeat, okay, baby? Because, yes, health is wealth, okay? Let's not forget that. All right, I want to start off with some basics before we get into this video. Welcome, my name is Denise. I am the brand owner, soon to be brand owner of Rewired Wellness. A little bit about my background and what started or what motivated me to get into health and wellness. For those of you who don't know my background, which a lot of you guys don't because I'm a very reserved, quiet person, I'm going to insert some pictures here of what I used to look like multiple times throughout my life. It wasn't just when I was little. It was after I had my son as well. I was, I guess, very obese at such a young age. Due to my mom, I don't know, having, adults back in the day have this like obsession with seeing their kids be super big and healthy. And I guess society had this like crazy idea that if your kid was strong, big, and fat, it meant that your kid was super healthy and came from a wealthy family. Well, I'm going to insert a picture here of what I look like. I think this was in 2008. I was around 7, 8 years old. And at such a young age, it kind of wired my brain to be like, my family used to always talk about weight and being fat at such a young age, which in my opinion, it's not something I would completely eliminate from a child's life, because health is wealth, and the only way you can have a long lasting healthy life is by taking care of your health. So it really depends what kind of connotation you put on like people talking crap about somebody being skinnier than the other. In my opinion, the way I took it was as competition. Like, if that person can look like that, I know I can definitely make myself look like that. So that's what started my journey. I used to get bullied. I mean, I guess you can say I used to get bullied, but people would talk about my weight. Family members would talk about my weight. I was constantly compared to my sister because I have a twin sister. For those of you guys who don't know, we are two totally, completely different people. She's more calm, girly, very emotional, sentimental. I'm more of a tomboy, don't fuck with me type of girl, and I'm very competitive. So we're two totally, completely different people. But yeah, my journey started when I was 9. It started off with first it started off with seeing myself in the mirror and thinking like, oh my God, I hate myself. But I never went into working out or eating better through a negative connotation. It was kind of like, let me see what eating better does to my body and what eliminating the bad things in my book do to my body, right? So, and then I started outputting more energy instead of what I was inputting. So by that I mean I started working out more than what I should have. I started moving my body more than what I used to. I started joining basketball. I started joining, just actively just being active in gym. I was one of those kids that was actually very excited to go to gym class because I wanted to run, because I wanted to be told what to do, because I don't know. I at such a young age, I also developed my passion for basketball. And the way I got into it wasn't because I hated my body. It was like, let me see what I'm always up for a challenge, and I wanted to see what this challenge of actually taking care of myself did to me. And honestly, it stuck with me for so many years since I was 9. It was something that never left my, like my thing. It was something that just naturally came to me. It wasn't something that somebody had to pressure me to do. So I slowly started to pick it up. Around the age of 9, I started to lose weight, like all that fat that you see in that picture. I started to lose weight. I don't think I have pictures from then, because I wouldn't really let my mom take pictures. And then, yeah, it just became a habit. And then I found out what athletic training was. I joined basketball in middle school. My basketball teacher worked us out like crazy. I mean, she had a passion for basketball. She was Filipino. So those of you who know what I'm talking about, especially the Filipinos in Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. So she took it very seriously, and I loved her. I felt like we had a very powerful connection as well, as far as like teacher and coach and student and athlete. She shared a strong passion for being obsessed with the Bulls, and she didn't know I really had an obsession for Bulls. I remember, us just bonding over the Bulls when Derrick Rose was on the team. Um, and that's where my passion really stemmed from. And then to have really seen, like, as I got deeper and deeper into it, it started to make me realize that, like, a lot of cultural families, like, have this really negative, like, connotation on the way that they should be feeding their kids, and really have, like, very to little knowledge, which is understandable. My family, I'm Mexican. My culture is Mexican, 100% Mexican. I'm not mixed with anything else. Please don't drop that in the comments and start asking me if I'm from somewhere else, because I'm not. I know a lot of people think I am. I don't know, maybe it's the hair, my skin tone. I apparently don't come off Mexican to them. But that's what ended up happening. So I started to see that, like, in cultures we have a lot, and this is like all over social media, where people will try to get you to ban your culture completely in order to lose weight. I'm gonna tell you guys, there are certain things in our culture that we love to do and we love to drink, and we just do it. So it kind of, like, once I got into health and wellness, it didn't make me turn against my culture. It made me appreciate my culture, because as a Mexican, if you guys know, most of the ladies, like, I grew up with my grandmother cooking for me, and she's an amazing cook. I still to this day give her flowers for that. I mean, it takes a lot to really stay in the kitchen for like 2 hours and cook, and like she put a lot of love and stuff into her cooking, because me and my siblings have always been 100% like healthy. I have people at my age, I'm 26, I have people at my age or even prior to my age who are not as healthy because they didn't have that growing up. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about how all of that ties into rewiring your wellness in a positive way, and not in a way that you hate yourself. Okay, so as you guys can tell by the title of this video, we are going to talk about why motivation is lost so quickly when people start their fitness journey or their journey to become healthier. A couple of things that I want to mention that I have seen in people that me personally I've came across and have told me, I've had friends close to me that I no longer talk to, but I've had friends close to me who would tell me, oh, I'm going to get into working out, or I've been looking for a gym membership, but I'm not going to do it until I know I'm starting to eat healthier, because I know it's not going to work out if I don't start eating healthier. Number one, let me tell you why that's a lie. It's not going to work out if you don't start stepping foot in the gym, okay? Even if you just show up to the gym, it takes a lot of discipline. You'll never find motivation to do it, first of all. The same way you'll never find motivation to want to keep a job, but you have to keep it because you have rent to pay and bills and all these other stuff to get done, right? So you develop discipline from that. Like, you learn how to put your emotions to the side and think logically, like, I have this and that to get out the way and get done. So I can't really say, no, I don't want to work this job, because this job is what's helping me pay my rent and my bills, right? So, the number one reason is because of that. People believe that you must eat healthier in order to join the gym. Or people believe that you must be at a certain fitness level to even start going to the gym. That's not how it works, guys, and we all have to start somewhere. The same way where people lose the motivation to want to build cardio fitness because they're not really good runners, or they're not the fastest runner. I have something in particular I can relate to that for you guys, to let you guys know that my journey with running hasn't been the best. And let me tell you why. we used to do suicides in basketball practice, and I used to get unmotivated. And to this day I still get very unmotivated because I wish I was a top runner and I wish I was a top sprinter. But just know that there's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be someone who's not as good as you, and there's always going to be a time where you're stronger or faster than certain people, and we're all on different levels of life, spiritually and physically, and on different levels fitness wise as well. And we shouldn't discourage ourselves from those kind of things just because we see that. It should be seen as motivation, but just also know and be aware that you might not get to this person's level because, you know, maybe that person had been working out since they were like 4 or 5 years old, and you just started your journey at like 9, 10 years old, right? Which, I mean, it's still a pretty decent time to start, but it'll never be nothing compared to those people who have already started their journey at a sooner age, right? We lose motivation because we're constantly comparing ourselves to others instead of having the compassion for ourselves to be like, hey, today I showed up. You know, I showed up to the gym, and if I only did 2 reps of whatever workout, at least I showed up, and I showed up. You know, and I did what I told myself I was going to do, because a lot of the times showing up and being motivated to take care of yourself is more about a promise to yourself that you made but you decided not to keep. Okay. Number 2, we also lose a lot of motivation because we're constantly listening, especially in today's era, influencers that have probably been working out for 3 or 4 years, and you're trying to do workouts that they're doing that are at a more advanced level than you because they've been lifting weights for 3 years. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is also taught in nursing classes for those of you who are nurses. I'm a nurse myself as well. I have a little background on that. It's medical assistant, not a registered nurse. But our bodies need time to develop to get to certain stages, especially stressors such as weightlifting and stuff like that. They need time to develop. So a person who has been lifting for 3 or 4 years might be able to lift 200 kilos while you can barely lift 5 pounds, which is totally normal, because you also have to understand the fact that your muscles have not been in use for a while, but that doesn't mean that your muscles are no longer existence. Okay? Part of getting into weight training, right? If you guys want to do that. So in other words, it's a lot of compassion that we have to have for ourselves. There will be people out there that will try and laugh in your face and tell you, haha, you can't do what I can do. And a lot of them don't have the basic psychological knowledge to understand that, hey, I can potentially be hurting this person by forcing them. In a way, it can be motivation, right? Because they're making fun of you. So it should be motivation that, hey, even if I'm not there right now, I know I can get there, you know? And it should be motivation in a sense, but they also don't know that it can be hurting you in the sense that you might choose your ego over your humility to be like, I want to prove my point that I can do it, you know? And we have to be a little more careful with our words when it comes to people who are already in fitness, who make fun of other people who aren't, because not everybody is driven by humility. They're more driven by ego, and sometimes that can hurt you in the long run because you'll think, oh, I can do this exercise and I'm going to go ahead and pump really hard when I haven't even touched a weight in like my whole life, right? Third reason people lose motivation is because they're so comfortable with being comfortable that they don't want to step out of their comfort zone to see, like I said, I mentioned earlier in the video, I stepped out of my comfort zone from being a sedentary child, which I wasn't very much sedentary, but there wasn't really much that I was doing to add resistance to my body, not even with my own body weight, to test my strength at that young age. So we start losing motivation because we want to just stick in our comfort zone and don't want to step out of the comfort zone, because if we step out of the comfort zone, it's kind of like, well, what's going on? My mind is changing, my body is changing. And although it can sometimes be, or although it can be healthy for you, a lot of people are not comfortable with those kind of changes. Um, so people begin to lose motivation, or they don't understand the fact that in order to step out of your comfort zone, it takes a lot of consistency, it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of compassion, like I said, towards yourself. To understand that in order to step out of that comfort zone, you have to be a little easy on yourself and understanding with yourself, but also apply that pressure to yourself and have that self motivation to step out of that comfort zone. Moving on, once you start stepping out of that comfort zone, you start realizing, like, wow, this person is doing the same thing that I was doing before I stepped out of my comfort zone. And once you're into that new zone where you're actually in your zone of wanting to work out, do better, perform better, and be better, you naturally want to start, like, your body naturally just wants to start cutting those people off that are in their comfort zone. So the reason why some people end up losing motivation is because, reason number 3 or 4, I'm not sure, we start to feel bad, which I know for a fact this happened to me one time, and I hope I never slip up again. Well, actually happened to me 3 times. We start to, because in order to have compassion for yourself, you kind of have to be emotionally regulated too. And we'll talk about emotions as well, and why people lose motivation too due to emotions. But let me explain this first. You have to be emotionally attuned with yourself to understand that you have to be compassionate towards yourself. And so why we lose motivation is due to other people, is because we start to feel bad for other people, and other people start to make us feel bad that, hey, you know, you worked so hard to get to where you're at. You'll start getting allegations of BBLs, getting allegations of, I wonder what must she be doing? She must be shooting up steroids. She must be taking up medications, stuff like that. And you start to believe it. So your brain starts to rewire, thinking, oh, I should feel bad because these people feel this kind of way towards me. And it's the reason why people start to lose motivation, because they start feeling bad for others and start hearing all this talk. We need to learn how to start blocking that off and start hanging out with people who are actually on the same path as us, to not dim our light and make other people feel better, if that makes any sense. Moving on to the emotional aspect of it. We lose motivation because sometimes, a lot of us, we are human, we pay too much attention to our emotions. And in order to operate sometimes and have really strong connections and relationships, most of the time you have to be emotionally in tune, and some people make you feel like shit when you're not. And in order to continue having motivation to even show up to the gym or even eat better throughout the day, or keep that consistency of eating better, that discipline of eating better in your life, emotionally, when you start listening to, wow, I feel tired, why I feel this. You know, athletes, they're trained to push through fatigue. So even if you are tired and you're out there running, you gotta make sure you can still shoot the ball into the basket, okay? This is what my coach used to do with us every single time. And somehow you have to learn how to just snap that wire into your brain and be like, I'm tired, but I'm still gonna shoot this ball. I'm still gonna keep pushing. I'm still gonna keep doing this. I'm still gonna keep doing that, you know? When we start feeling tired and we start to slack off and lose motivation, and we start to think, we start to fall for that comfort zone area again, and we start to go back to, hey, so and so is doing this, so I want to do it too. And then we start to slack off with ourselves, and then we don't understand why it's happening. A lot of us don't, but if you're self-aware, you understand, and you're like, oh, you know what, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. I'm not going to pay attention to my emotions. I don't care what so and so is doing, and if they're having a really nice drink and stuff like that, because financially too, that is what America wants to wire you to do, to be a consumer, to be somebody who just consumes, and that's why we have this obesity thing, the obesity pandemic going on in America right now, because everybody, they're coming up with these really cool, America's probably the best place now that anybody can go ahead to a fast food restaurant and find something that's very, very delicious, and it's really not that great for your body, let's be honest. So yeah, we start to pay attention to our emotions. So you have to know how to snap that switch on and be disciplined. Discipline doesn't give you motivation. Discipline is the logical part of your brain knowing that, hey, this is good for my body. Even though I don't want to show up, I'm still going to show up. And again, that implies to showing up to the gym or showing up to just eating good for that one day and staying away from things that are toxic, such as sugar, dyes, an excessive amount of carbs, etc. Another reason I've been seeing this all over TikTok, and I hated this when social media came out for the first time with TikTok and all these influencers. It made me so depressed, and it made me so angry, and it made me so furious, because social media will try to scare you and make you so fearful of things, and it's nice to have some sort of fear, but in certain things and your own beliefs that you're not pulling from social media, because a lot of these things are not true, and a lot of these things are people just trying to scare you and people trying to deviate you from or keep you in your comfort zone. Okay, I've been seeing around a lot that people would say, and I've had friends close to me tell me, this and that can happen to you, and this and that can happen to you. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to even start weight training because I started listening to those videos myself too, because my friends would send it to me. And I'm like, I've never been scared to work out. I've never been scared to do this. And family members would even send me these videos. And I'm like, I think they're trying to keep me in my comfort zone. I don't think they're fully knowledged or educated on what these things can actually do for you, like the positive side of things. People listen to people and say an excessive amount of cardio can give you a cardiac arrest. I mean, I'm not saying that's impossible, but I'm also not saying that. I'm also saying, what I'm also trying to say is that it's still healthy for you and it's still beneficial for you as far as your cardiovascular health. We need to stop listening to things and really start researching things that actually come from real psychologists and real science backed up information, which I know nowadays it's hard because of AI and all these new things going on. But we need to make sure that what we consume, not only, food wise, but mentally, it's factual evidence and not just evidence that somebody made up because they want to scare you or they want to make some money off of these videos. So this is why people lose motivation too, because they get wrong information from wrong resources that aren't even reliable resources. And last but not least, the most major reason I know people lose motivation is because they start these crazy ideas that you have to diet insanely in order to start losing weight. At the beginning, I'm going to be very honest, you will not see any results if you continue to eat the way that you do. But what I am going to say is that you don't completely have to cut out the comfort foods that make you happy. Every now and then, and this is what I realized has worked for me, if you are more intentional with how often you eat your favorite comfort food, one, not only does it become a natural habit, two, it becomes naturally disciplined and instilled in you. Three, it keeps you from actually wanting that comfort food every single day. Okay? Some of my comfort foods for me a lot is chocolate and coffees. I was never a coffee girl until after I got pregnant with my son. Never. I never loved drinking coffee. It never caught my attention. None of that. So when it comes to your comfort foods, learn how to minimize them, because those are what are keeping you at a weight higher than what you need, than what you want to be, and you're not seeing results. So you easily get demotivated. And one of the ways that that has helped me is doing that. Setting a schedule for my comfort food and knowing that, hey, it's a reward system and I have to work hard for it if I want to. And my working hard for it is eating 90% of the time healthy, and that little 10% that I want to, go waste on an iced coffee or something sugary or a chocolate, I'm going to waste it on that, and it's going to make me feel happier, because I'm not having access to this comfort food every single day. So, and honestly, if you guys want to know, well, I'm going to tell you guys my story. When I was 9 years old and I first started actually working out, my first way that I started getting into fitness wasn't at a huge gym. It was at my school's gym. My mom forced me to go into a basketball team that I didn't want to go in at all, because I realized like how hard it was to actually work through that, and like the coaches didn't play. The coaches actually coached you back in the day, back in 2009 in CPS schools. And I was like, I don't love running. I don't want to do this. But I still kept showing up because my mom wasn't going to take us out. So I was like, whatever, I'll suck it up. For my time being here, I might as well just be productive, look at it as a game and have fun, right? So I did that. I did just that, and it started to become more serious. The coaches, I remember them handing out flyers to us, kids, 9-year-olds, expecting us to actually understand this and tell us. They actually instilled some fear in us. It wasn't in the sense that they yelled at us. I forgot what their names were. It was a guy and a girl coaching this team. And I was 9 years old. I believe I was in fifth grade at this time. 9 years old, and they hand out these flyers, and it's a nutritional flyer. And I'm like, I've never heard of nutrition. I didn't even know foods can make you sick, right? So I was like, wow, this is like actually honestly very cool and informational. And I was such a nerd back then, and I was like, okay. So I'm reading the flyer, and they're telling us these are the foods that you need to cut off if you want to be a real athlete. Mind you, our basketball team wasn't anything that like somebody would love to come see. Like, I'm talking about girls were shooting baskets in our home basket. Like, that's how terrible we were. But they handed us out these flyers, and it just clicked in my head since then. And they explained to us, and I was one of those kids who would just love to crisscross applesauce. I want to listen to what you have to say. And they started talking to us, and they're like, these foods, like, you guys should not be eating chips. And I remember the adults in my family, every time they went grocery shopping, the women, my mom and my grandma, hey, I'm gonna go to the store, do you want a bag of chips? Every single time I was like, yeah, duh, they taste so good, who's not gonna want a bag of chips? I'm a kid, I want a bag of chips. So after they handed out these flyers, I remember, I think it was a picture like of a Taki bag or something. I don't know if Takis existed back then, but it was like a picture of chips, a picture of like bread, a picture of chocolate, candies, etc., stuff like that on the flyer. And I remember bringing that flyer home with me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like restrict myself from these foods completely, because clearly this is what's keeping me big. And when I said I was big, I don't think you can really see it in that picture, but I used to wear like baggy shirts and stuff because I hated how fat and jiggly everything was in front. So I started restricting myself from that food. That's when I started noticing actual results. My mother thought it was because I was going through my menstrual cycle and I was going through all these womanly bodily changes, and she's like, you're finally losing your baby fat. No, I actually was taking care of myself low-key, but they didn't realize that. I would subtly just like be like, oh, like I would watch my portions too, especially with the carbs, and my grandmother would try to like serve me a second plate, and I'm like, no, I'm totally fine, I'm good, because in the Mexican household, when you get one big meal, that's really enough to keep you full for the whole day. You really don't need 6 meals in a day because they feed you everything in one. So I basically went cold turkey, and I was like, nope, I want to see results quickly. And of course, when you're younger, your hormones are barely working. You're barely activating that metabolic state. You're very young, so it's a lot easier to lose it, as opposed to when you grow older, You know, you've already put all this junk into your body. It might be a little bit harder for you to lose, unless, like I said, if you want to go cold turkey and you think you can go cold turkey, you won't. I mean, I feel like sometimes it can affect your motivation now that you're older and you know what certain foods taste like, because you'll be tempted to want to go back to that food. So what I do now, especially after I had my kid, I had him in 2019. It was the biggest I had ever been. I had weighed 195 pounds and it was hard. I mean, not really. Not really, because like I did drop 195 to 160 really quickly, but that was a lot of like brisk walking and stuff. But when I had him, I did have a problem with being able to leave just chocolate alone, being able to just leave all the sugar alone. And like I said, it's crazy because before I had him, I went cold turkey, no sugar whatsoever, cold turkey, no carbs whatsoever, which don't take my advice on no carbs at all. Your body should still have a certain amount of carbs in order for it to function off of some fuel. Um, but I did struggle, and so what I would do in order for me to leave the chocolate was start substituting with healthy sweet stuff, which was fruit. And now suddenly I don't even crave fruit like that, because I do buy my bananas and I used to buy strawberries. None of that really catches my attention like that anymore, especially because I've been working out now since my son turned 6 for 3 years now. So when he turned 3 is when I started to become more active, because he was a little bigger, his immune system was more developed, and I had more time to do that. So yeah. But going cold turkey, I don't recommend on your foods. Minimize them, minimize how much you eat, set a schedule if you need to. Handle yourself like a business. I know it may sound stupid or silly, but setting a specific date of when you can finally treat yourself to something sweet and good. For example, it can be like the 15th of every month. You know, you eat it once a month and you maintain the rest of your physique and your health, and your healthy habit of eating healthier and feeding your body really good natural fuel. It would really help you, and trust me, it's going to change your genetics a lot, and you're going to start to see yourself looking different, and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, who is that baddie in the mirror, and where did she come from, or where did he come from? And you're gonna be so proud of yourself. Okay, again, welcome to Rewired Wellness, and I hope to build a really nice positive community off of this. I'm a very compassionate person, especially when it comes to taking care of your body. I'm a very big fan of health and wellness, and I hope that I can meet more people within this community, because I feel so left out. I spend a lot of time by myself because most of the people that I get around, I'm constantly the one who knows more, and they're constantly the ones who are always, she knows this, she's very resourceful, she knows a lot about what she's talking about. And it's like, I want to be able to meet more people within the same community so we can share the same amazing, thoughts, and just build a community, and help other people join who have not, or who have been searching for something different in their life, and or who have been soul searching. But yeah, I hope to be, pouring in insane amount of knowledge to you guys, and love through these videos, and compassion, not only towards others, but towards yourself when it comes to your health and wellness journey. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Comment ideas or anything else that you guys would want more education or tips. Sorry, cut off, but education or tips on. I'm here for all of that. And yeah, can't wait to build this community with you guys.